Okay, so I'm continuing my series on Ancestry censuses for England and Wales. Now I'm focusing on my 3 times great grandmother Agnes Blackmore Fry, or born Agnes Blackmore Barnes. And I'm going to now look at the 1901 census. So I've done the 1911 previously. Let's have a look at the 1901. So you can see she was born in 1820, died in 1915. Perfect case because she was alive through all of the modern censuses available on Ancestry. Now if I come into the person again, if you're not familiar with Ancestry, if I scroll down, let's see. Now I can see on here residence. Ancestry says residence for census, but if I click on it, then it links back up to the source that it's found. If you haven't already got them, then you can look at the hints and you'll probably find them in there anyway. For most people, it starts to find the census quite quickly. And I'll work through these and we'll do the searching later. So if I come back to facts again, and let's say 1901. Okay. And you can see how it links, and then it links to any other people, in this case her daughter, who's also on that census with her. And it's also worth showing you here that I have an obituary that I found actually on Find My Past for Agnes when she died in 1915 at the age of 95, which in itself is spectacular. And I've only got the 1 page from it, but I know more or less where she lived. So having these extra bits of information really help when you're doing your research on the census and confirming anything that you're not sure about. So I can see she spent almost all her adult life in Ilfracombe in North Devon, which I'll show you here. That was the 1911 address, 1 St James's Place. Again, if you're not familiar with the UK, there it is, down there in the southwest corner of England. And this is actually where her daughter moved to Neath over here near Swansea, and this is where I live today. But she's in North Devon. Let's again have a quick look at that just to show you. Let's have a quick look on Street View, and it's this house here. Okay, right on the end. Spectacular location. And wow, nice tourist place. So let's come back to Agnes then, and let's have a look at the record. Okay, if I view it, we've got a summary here, as you often do with Ancestry. And if I look at view record, in this case I actually see a focus view. If there's an issue or anything, you can do add or update information, and then you can provide the alternate name or whichever part of information here. So just remember, as you go, try and update. So I can see these, that's fine. All looks good. And you've got your summary up here. Let's have a look then at the image itself. Now, again, Ancestry Census Viewer. I mean, I'm always using these on a desktop. I don't think it's so great on the app. But 2 things you can do here. Right, you can press the person icon and you instantly see them highlighted. Now if I pull back, it's not showing as them highlighted on here, but what I can do, if I scroll up, I can see they are household 37. If I look down here, and then you can see the number corresponds, and she's at the bottom of that. So there, or at least last but 1. Yeah, it's just helpful if you're looking and you've got a mass of names and the handwriting is quite hard. You can sort of orientate yourself quite quickly. And another tip, if you look at the film strip view, you can also flick through onto next pages quite easily. Might be useful if you know that there are other relatives in the area. It's always good to have a look around the area. But I can toggle that off, and you can just pull that up and down as you need. So let's again go back to Agnes B. Barnes. Okay, no, didn't want to click on the actual text. Click on that, highlight, and let's zoom in. So let's see what we've got here. This is different to the 1911 one that we've already looked at in another video. So you've got Devon, ecclesiastical parish, etc. And we know it's in Ilfracombe. Now, usually at the top, they'll start with the place or the street name. Interestingly here, they've gone backwards down the street, I suppose. It's 2 St James's Place. And can't really read that, but then you can just see the number 1 and they've done a ditto mark. Okay, it looks like a DU in places. Ditto. Okay, St. James's Place. And if I come over, see, you've got George K. Batten, which was Agnes's son-in-law, who's a photographer. And I've actually got a photo with either his son or his brother's name on it, as well as a photographer. So there's a bit of a family connection there. And he's working at home. And you've got his birthplace as well. Cornwall Salt Ash. And then Devon Ilfracombe. So you've got county and place. County, place. And you see again these ditto marks, okay, where they were born. But it's his wife, Matilda Fry Batten, who was Agnes's daughter. Okay, so she's living with her daughter and son-in-law here, both married. Interesting on these, sometimes it says what the wife does or not, but in this case they've just left it blank. Obviously Victorian or late Victorian times. And then the son, Kevin Batten's 13, Agnes Fry, who's named after Agnes Barnes, who was born Agnes Fry. Agnes Fry Batten, DAU, okay, again, if we're looking at the writing, DAU, maybe even an R. So daughter. Son, you could just about make out daughter. Remember, they're writing this at scale very quickly, so the handwriting isn't great, and there's a lot of shorthand. So you've got Hilda M. Batten as well, who's 8. Agnes B. Barnes is the mother-in-law. Again, my direct ancestor here. And she is widowed. Okay, so you see widowed, M, married. Now, if you look below her, Alice Newcomb, who was the servant in the house, S, servant. Curiously, 81, it says living on own means. I don't know why they wrote that, because I know you didn't have the same concept of retired, but hey, it seems pretty obvious that she's not going to be working at 81. But so they did. And they've got a general servant domestic below. Now, if you come into this column, you can see in the final column as well, it's worth noting, in the 1911 they called it infirmity. And it's number 1 is deaf and dumb, 2 is blind, 3 is a lunatic, 4 is imbecile or feeble-minded. Again, terms that are obviously are not right in today's society, but how they termed them. Whether this tick is anything to do with that, I don't know. There's nothing to suggest that, because other family documents I've got said, and I quote, she was hale and hearty until the very end, to 95. So that doesn't suggest so. We can sometimes discount these unless there's something concrete, especially if there was a number, that would be a different story. But in this case, I don't think it's relevant. So we know she's still living at St. James's Place in Ilfracombe, which is where she was in 1911, and it's there. Now, I would always recommend you download these, so you can press this rather curious icon and download it. If you, as I've said in other videos, it's always a little bit hard with naming conventions, but let's have a go at something along the lines of, now, I know I'm putting a person's name, whoops, and typo is never good, Barnes. Let's put 1901 census. Obviously there are other people on this, but for my purposes, I'm saving it for her. She's my only direct ancestor in this census. And I would save it to my external hard disk normally, but let's see. Oh, and I forgot I already had it here. Yeah, let's just overwrite that. Fine. Again, always save your records as you go, because Ancestry will not let you view them afterwards. And something else nice you can do is if you click on the film strip and just take a note of where you are, okay, before you do this. So you can see I'm on image 7 of 30. Now if we have a look along here, I can click on that. I'm looking for a slightly different page at the start. Usually, yeah, image 1. Enumeration district number 11. Now this page, if I pull it out, gives you a view of the parish as well. So it gives you some additional information. I'm not going to read it out to you, but it's worth saving that as well for some added info. So if you remember, she was on page 7. Let's just double check. Okay, and then if you usually press page 1, you will see this as well. And it does name some of the streets, some of the places she lived. Even here, you know, it goes through the streets involved and even says commencing with number 42, Mr. W.H. Smith's, to number 79, Mr. Grant's, Albert Court and Cottage on the west side of Broad Street. And again, so there's a little bit more information that you might find useful. Now let's go back to page 7. Continue our workflow. And as we're here, just remember to save to person in your tree. In my case, if I put the person filter on, close the film strip, I could actually then add this to someone else. So let's say Matilda, she's a relative. I'll add it to her. Save to person in your tree. And I'll save it to her. So you can add to more than one person as you go, just to save coming back and forth. And yep, let's add that. Even though it's already on her tree, it's just adding the description. So anything different will be added. And you can add it to all of the family then in one fell swoop by just pressing add and just being sure you check the information is right. Doing this, having done it before as a practice run. Okay, and adding the children and save to tree. And you'd want to go and have a look at your tree visually just to make sure nothing is out of whack after you've done that. And it comes back into Matilda's tree because she's the one I've just been working with. Then if I go back to Agnes, we've got her 1901 census, and we know she lived in the same place. Let's have a look at the 1891 census next in this video, and I'll see you there.